let's see. I don't know if I can keep up with all these emails. It's getting to be crazy, but so good. I mean, the people are really absolute. Hey, 2nd District, State Representative Andrew Barkis, and hey, it's time for another Barkis Breakdown, and I'm so glad that you could join today. You know, I'm sitting here at my desk. I've got a little bit of time this morning to try to catch up before I head off to Transportation Committee and continue to work on the budget and all the things that we're doing. We're getting into the last couple of weeks of session, and man, I'm telling you, the stuff is all coming together right now, and stay tuned for even more as we start to roll these budgets off the floor of the House. I'm sure you've been hearing a lot. You've obviously been paying attention to what's going on and heeding our call to be involved, to let your voices be heard. You know, I've been going through emails and the comments that are coming in from you all. We had one hearing the other day on the proposed income tax, and over 100,000 people signed in con. An absolute record. People letting their voices be heard to say, we're not very happy about what's going on there in Olympia, and we want you to take note. But you know, when I go through my emails, I'm always looking for the constituents, people in the district, in the 2nd District, to let me know what you're thinking so that I can relay that back to the policymakers and also help me with the work that I'm doing. Let me give you a couple examples from some folks that have sent some stuff into me. On SB 6346, the millionaire tax, here's one. Stephen and Lacey says, it's our belief that we should be more focused on fixing our state's chronic spending problem instead of just justifying our spending with increasingly burdensome taxes. Garrett and Yelm said, hey, with the high property taxes, sales taxes, gas taxes, and other fees, this state does not have a revenue problem. The state has a spending problem. Kind of see a theme here. And then Shannon and Graham also said, you know, we all know it's not just a millionaire tax, and it'll be put on all of us soon after it passes. We can barely afford to live here as it is. People are very concerned about this income tax, and they're seeing through the noise. They're cutting through it. This is not going to be a tax just on millionaires. This is going to be a tax on all the people of Washington State, and it's coming unless we can stop it. You know, there was a couple other things that are going on in this budget. What you've heard us, a couple weeks ago, we had a very robust debate on the floor about the rating of the Left 1 pension, the firefighters' pension. This has been talked about for a long time, but this year they're actually doing it. They're actually going to take hundreds of millions of dollars out of this pension fund, not to backfill the pension, but to sweep that money to cover the Climate Commitment Act. Crazy, right? The money is being swept from all these different things to balance the budget. And what we just saw is that when this thing is all cooked and when we vote on it off the floor, it increases spending by $2.2 billion. So they're using all these sweeps. But here's one. Martha and Lacey says, you know, it's wrong to close the Left 1 pension account, and it's wrong to take the funds that state and firefighters paid into and to use them for other things besides what their intended use is for. Also, Benjamin from Graham said, please get our state spending under control without gambling our first responders' pensions over and over, taxing our state citizens on their hard-earned money. A couple other ones here. You know, we had a bill that came through housing about allowing for the removal of the camping ban, the homeless encampment ban that we've been working on for so long. Unfortunately, we did stop that bill, and it's because of receiving so many comments, just like the one from Troy and Graham that says, you know, this bill, HB 2489, would further encourage a homeless lifestyle, and it's not the answer to the chronically destructive situation. Troy, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm telling you, we have proposed so much legislation over the last several years to deal with the underlying problem of mental health and drug addiction. We should be focusing there, not backpedaling on policies that are in place on the local level that are actually working. Fortunately, like I said, we did stop that. And one that's near and dear to me, I'm working on the transportation budget right now, and I'm proud of the work that we've done in this budget using existing resources. But the one resource that we're not allowed to use, and I've been talking about it time and time again, is the Climate Commitment Act. These are the funds that you're paying every single day at the gas pump. The reason why Washington State has the highest gas prices in the nation. You're paying this money coming in. None of that money came to transportation this year. Remember I said just a second ago about all the sweeps and everything else going into the operating budget? They're doing the same thing with the Climate Commitment Act money. But you know, I've been proposing that we use these to take care of our critical infrastructure, our maintenance and preservation, and things like the Fairfax Bridge. Been my number one priority this year. The closure of the Fairfax Bridge back in April was a problem that should never have happened. We failed The agency failed and the administration failed for years on not addressing critical infrastructure like that bridge. They knew years ago that it needed work. They could have done the work and it would still be open today while we look at replacing it. Well, I've had some legislation and some work in the budget to make sure that we are not going to forget and that we're going to take the appropriate steps right now to start the process of replacing that bridge. Because of people like Diane in Wilkeson, so many people from that area have reached out to me. I've been up there and they've told me this is one of the worst things that could ever happen. She says, I'm writing in strong support of HB 2149. I'm a resident who lives on the far side of the Fairfax Bridge, and since the bridge was condemned, we have been effectively landlocked due to the state's failure to maintain its critical infrastructure. Our only access route is now on an 18-mile round trip on a one-lane private logging road that is currently an active logging road. It's dangerous, it's unpredictable, and it's extremely hard through no fault of our own. Travel that once took me 14 minutes now takes me almost an hour. Let me tell you something. A few examples of how important it is to let your voices be heard. I know my assistant Caden has had a really tough job this year just keeping up on the amount of calls, the meetings that I'm taking here in Olympia, and of course the emails that are just flooding in us every day. Now, don't stop. Keep it up. Keep letting your voices heard, not just to me, but also to your representatives watching what's going on. Pay attention. We have one of the best House Republican social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all these different platforms that you can get real-time updates to what's going on and allows you to let your voice be heard. This has an impact. This will have an impact on how we craft policy and what we're able to do to promote the good stuff and stop the bad stuff. Well, I got to get back to work. I got to head over to committee, get the final stuff cooked up on this budget. We're going to be ready to roll the operating budget. It's going to be a long show. Tune in. There's going to be some great arguments. We're going to present some options to show how we could redirect, reprioritize the spending more for the people of Washington State, more for the people of the 2nd District, as opposed to this reckless spending that we have seen year after year after year. Well, thanks for watching another Barkis Breakdown. Keep reaching out. We're going to be here for another couple weeks in session, and then I'll be back out into the district to meet with you all and continue the work that we do. And as I always say, it's an honor and privilege to serve you, the people of the 2nd District and Washington State. Have a great one.